Hello everyone. In this video, I will introduce those three forecasting techniques we mentioned in the previous video. And remember, the first one is the so-called technical forecasting, which basically uses the historical data to predict the future exchange rate. So if we use the vertical axis as, for example, exchange rate, and the horizontal axis is the time. And some people may say that when the price of a foreign currency drops to some degree, it will reverse a little bit. It's called reversal. This is one type of technical forecasting. And sometimes they say if the price goes up a little bit to some degree, it will drop down a little bit. So those are so-called technical forecasting. In stock market, they said the long-term trend in recession should be goes down, rebound, but not as high as the jobs, not as much as the jobs, and drops again, and rebound slightly, and drops again, and rebound. So you will see the lowest price will be lower and lower, and the highest price in each rebound will be also lower and lower. So this is a recession trend. And in the recovery, economic recovery, the S&P 500 usually is like goes up and drop, and goes up and drop, and goes up and drop. And the highest price in each uptrend is higher and higher, and the reversal, the lowest price in each reversal is higher and higher too. And we see this is an upward trend, and which means the economy is recovering. So those are so-called technical forecasting. The second type of forecasting is called fundamental forecasting. Basically, we found the relation between economic variables and exchange rates, and use the relation to do the forecasting. The last one is called market-based forecasting. Basically, we just use any price available from the market as a proxy of future spot. Of course, some companies, multinational corporations may mix those forecasting techniques. They may not only use one, they may use two or more, depends on their model. So I will talk the technical forecasting first. As I just mentioned, they just found the patterns of the historical data. So here's one example. This company have to pay 10 million Mexican peso for supplies. This is a future payable, so they want a lower price. And the current spot rate is 0.05. And today the peso has appreciated by 3% against the dollar. So the spot rate of Mexican peso will be 3% higher than 0.05. So we found that today's spot rate is 0.0515 today. And the Kansas call may need to pay this 10 million times the spot rate, which is 515,000 US dollar. And they may hire a team of professionals to analyze the historical time series. And they found this pattern that whenever the price goes up by 1%, more than 1%, it will experience a reversal about 60% of the change. Remember, today the Mexican peso has appreciated by 3%, which is greater than 1%. So in this case, it satisfies this condition, and it will experience a reversal, which is 60% of the 3%. So it's 3% times 60%. So it's 1.8%. And remember, it's a reversal because this 3% is positive, and this reversal should be negative. So we use 1 minus, because the depreciation it's a negative percentage change. So it's 1 minus the 1.8% times today's spot rate. It's 1.5057. So if this company pay tomorrow by the Mexican peso tomorrow, the total cost in US dollar amount is $5,700 US dollars. So in this case, they by compare those two numbers, they found that pay tomorrow is more reasonable. So they saves more cash. So in this case, they will make a decision that they will make the payment tomorrow. The second example is this Severus coal has to pay 5 million Canadian dollars, and today's spot rate is $0.7 per unit, and the Canadian dollar has appreciated by 2%. So which means today's spot rate for Canadian dollar is 0.7 times 1 plus 2%. And this company determined that whenever Canadian dollar appreciates against the US dollar by more than 1%, remember they found today it appreciated by 2%. This 2% is greater than 1%. It means that it satisfies this condition. It experiences a reversal of 40%, which means it will depreciate by 40% of this 2%. So it's 0.8%. Based on those information, the spot rate for tomorrow should be the spot rate, which is 0.7 per unit times 1 plus 2%. Those together is today's spot rate. And times 1 minus 0.8%, that's tomorrow's spot rate. And they will prefer to make the payment tomorrow. And several limitations of technical forecast. First, we can only use this to forecast the near futures movement. We cannot do long-term forecasting. Second, sometimes it works well in one period, but as time changes, it doesn't work well in another period. The second forecasting method is called fundamental forecasting. And the fundamental forecasting basically is find the fundamental relations between economic variables and exchange rate. Usually we do regressions. So first we can use this so-called purchasing power parity, which is the relation between inflation differential and the exchange rate movement. So the formula here, as we all know, and based on the PPP, here's one example. Drake believes that the Australian dollar will move in accordance with the difference between the US inflation rate and the Australian inflation rate. Drake relies on government reports that the US inflation rate will be 1% over the next year and Australian inflation rate will be 6%. So according to PPP, the percentage change of Australian dollars exchange rate should be 1 plus the US inflation divided by 1 plus the Australian inflation minus 1. It's around negative 4.7%, which means it's a depreciation. So if the current spot rate for Australian dollar is $0.5 per unit, then the forecasted value should be the current spot rate times 1 plus this EF, which is the percentage change of spot rate. So it's negative 4.717%. So you will find the forecasted value for Australian dollar after a year is 0.4765. The fundamental forecasting can be, we can use regressions to do that, and it can be lagged impact. So what does the lagged impact means? It means the last period, for example, inflation will impact this period of exchange rate. So this impact will have the lag effect. So here's one example. Alcorn wants to forecast the percentage change in British pound with respect to US dollar during the next quarter. These companies' professionals believe that the movements in British pound depend only on US inflation rate minus British inflation rate in the previous quarter. So the step one is you need the historical data to develop this question, to get this, develop this relation. What's the relation between inflation and the exchange rate? You first need to collect those data. For example, I give you a set of data include the last 11 quarters data, and developed the regression model. In the regression model, it shows that the British pound movement will only percentage change in British pound exchange rate will only depend on the constant term and the previous quarter's inflation differential. And this mu t here, so B0 is a constant, it's an intercept. B1 is a coefficient on inflation rate. And finally, this mu t is the error term. Remember the average mu t, which is the mean of mu t, equals to 0. So usually after we do the regression, we just ignore it. When applied to the data, the model generates the value of regression coefficient B0 and B1, no mu t, because mu t is an error term. The regression B1 expected to be positive because the EF should move in the same direction as the inflations. That is when US inflation increases relative to UK inflation, British pound will appreciate against the US dollar. So here is the data here. For first year, quarter two's ET, which is the percentage change of British pound, we regress it on the last year one, quarter one's inflation differential. And for I random pick another one. For year two, quarter four's the ET, which is the percentage change of British pound, the corresponding X, so those are Y here. These are X in the regression. X is previous quarter's data, so year two, quarter three's data. And then we can do this in either financial calculator or Excel. I just show you in Excel. So this is the Y here. And this is the corresponding previous quarter's inflation differential rate. And then we click this data analysis and do regressions. And Y is from here to here, and X is from here to here. And then, okay, we find out that the regression result. So here is R square. R square is 100%, means that's the perfect regression. We have 11 quarters, that means we have 11 observations. The most important thing is here, the intercept, which is the concept, which is the constant. So it's B0, so B0 equals to 0, and the B1 is B0, and the B1 is 0.9. So that is our regression result. Oh, sorry, let's move to here. So those are data, and so let's do the regression in Excel here. Hopefully I switch it to Excel. Yes, that's correct. And the regression, and Y is here, X is here. Let's do here. What I did is click the data analysis and choose regression. Y is this column, and X is this column, and OK. Those are our regression results. So the R square, which is how accurate inflation, lag the inflation, like past previous quarters inflation predict the future British pound movement and exchange rate movement. And one basically means that's a perfect prediction, and which is 100%. And the coefficient is here. Intercept, which is a constant term, it's B0. And here is B1. So B0 equals to 0, and B1 equals to 1, equals to 0.9. Okay, let's switch back to our data. We found that B0 is 0, B1 is 0.9. And then we know that the most recent quarter's percentage change in inflation differential is 3%. So this is our regression model. The percentage change of British pound. Remember here, the British pound equals to B0 plus B1 times past quarter's inflation rate. B0 equals to 0, B1 equals to 0.9, and the past quarter's inflation is here. It's 3%. So we insert this in our model here. So this past quarter's inflation is 3%. We found out that the percentage change of the inflation of the British pound exchange rate is 2.7%. Or we can use this so-called instantaneous inflation influence. That is that the current quarter's percentage change in British pound exchange rate is determined by current quarter's inflation differential. So the regression model here is no longer t minus 1, it's t. So this is current quarter corresponding to current quarter. And here's our data again. And we know the only available historical data is up to year 3, quarter 4. And for the year 4, quarter 1's data, which is current quarter's data, should be predicted. And then let me switch back to the Excel here. So the corresponding data, so year 1, quarter 2's EET percentage change in British pound is regressed on year 1, quarter 2, the same quarter's inflation rate. So you can see those two are the same. And then we do the regression again. So Y is the same, X from here to here, and yes. So we found the most important thing is B0 and B1. So B0 is 0.0038. B1 is 0.466349. So we keep 3 decimals, that's enough. So our regression model is the percentage change of British pound exchange rate equals to B1, which is 0.0038. 0.0038, or we can write it as 0.38%. and B1 is 0.466 times this quarter's inflation rate. And instead, we predict that this current quarter's inflation rate is 2%. So we find out this percentage change of British pound exchange rate is 1.31%. We go to the Excel, we found that the R square is 0.445, which means it's not a perfect prediction, but it works. Half of the variation of the exchange rate changes is explained by the current quarter's inflation rate differential. Of course, we can forecasting with a comprehensive model, not only inflation differential, but also interest rate differential, income level differential, government controls, and expectations. So the limitation of fundamental forecasting include first, sometimes we don't know how long this factor will affect the exchange rate movement. So it may take 2, 3, 4 quarters to show this full impact of factors on exchange rate. Some factors are not easily to quantify, such as government control and changes of expectation. And also sometimes from time period to time period, regression coefficients may not remain constant. So here is one example. This sell side use the fundamental forecasting and use for regression analysis. It has determined the following model. So Euler's percentage change is determined by a constant number plus the inflation differential in previous quarter plus the income differential in past quarter. And they found that the coefficient on previous quarter's inflation differential is 0.9, and the coefficient on previous quarter's income level differential is 1.1. And the most recent percentage change in inflation differential is 2%. This INF-1 is 2%. And the income growth differential is -1%. Then what's the percentage change, forecasted value for euros? So we just plug those numbers. The constant number is 5%, 0.5%. And the inflation differential is 2%. And the income differential is -1%. After we plug all those numbers, we found that the euro's percentage change will be 1.2%, which means the euro will appreciate against the US dollar by 1.2%. The last technique is called market-based forecasting. So basically, we can either use the spot rate or the forward rate as a forecast value. The reason is that if here is the rationale behind this theory. If there's a lot of participants in the market, including speculators, and they expect that British pound will appreciate against the US dollar in the next 2 days. And the speculator will think, okay, I will hold the British pound and wait for 2 days, and I sell them, and then I will make a profit. I use euro as another example. If the spot rate for euro is $1.1, and the speculator expects euro will appreciate and will appreciate up to $1.15 per unit, what they will do is they will buy euros immediately and hold it for 2 days. After 2 days, once the euro's value reaches $1.15, they will sell it, and they will make a profit, which is $0.05 per unit. So these buying behaviors will put an upward pressure on spot rate. The spot rate will increase immediately, reaches 1.15. So that's the reason why we say if the market participants expect that the currency will increase, will appreciate against the US dollar, the price of this foreign currency will increase immediately and reach to the expected value number. Conversely, if British pound is expected to depreciate against the US dollar, the speculator will sell short British pound. They will borrow British pound, and once the British pound price goes down, and they will buy back and when they borrow, so they will return those British pound and they will make a profit. So in this case, they will keep short sell British pound, and this will put a downward pressure on British pound. British pound's value will depreciate against the US dollar immediately. So that's the rationale why we can use spot rate as a proxy, as a forecast value for the future couple days spot rate. Also, we can use forward rate to forecast the future spot rate. So the forward rate is quoted for a specific date in the future. Is commonly used as a forecasted spot rate on that future date. So a 30-day forward rate forecasts the spot rate in 30 days, and the 90-day forward forecasts the spot rate in 90 days. And the forward rate, remember, we can write it as S times 1 plus P. P is the forward premium or discount. So if we use forward rate as a forecast of the future spot rate, so the percentage change of spot rate will equals to the forward premium or discount. It equals to the forward rate divided by spot rate minus 1. So if 1 year forward rate of Australian dollar is 0.63, well, the spot rate is $0.6 per unit. Then the percentage change in Australian dollar should equal to the forward premium or discount should be 5%. So assume that most speculators expect the spot rate of British pound in 30 days to be 1.45. And the prevailing forward rate is 1.4. In this case, the speculators would buy British pound and at this 1.4 using forward contract. And after 30 days, they will sell that immediately on the spot market. They will sell that after 30 days at the spot market, and they will make a profit. So if the speculator keep buying forward contract, this will push the forward rate increase. Once the forward rate reaches to 1.45, there's no arbitrage opportunity, speculation opportunities. Those speculators will stop buying forward contract. So that's the reason why we say forward rate should move toward to market's general expectation of future spot rate. That's why we can use it as a forecasted value of future spot rate. Also, we can use forward rate to do the long-term forecasting. So assume that the spot rate of euro currently is $1 and its 5-year forward rate is 1.06. Then the forecasted value of the euro after 5 years will be 1.06. And also we can use the IRP, which is interest rate parity, to do the forecasting. So remember, the interest rate parity shows that P, which is the forward premium or discount, equals to 1 plus the interest rate of home country divided by 1 plus the interest rate of the foreign country minus 1. So we can set EF equals to P. Then we can use the interest rate of home country and the interest rate of foreign country, interest rate differential to predict to forecast the long-term spot rate. So here is one example. If we want to do the 5-year forecasting, and the US 5-year interest rate is 10% per year. That's the annualized interest rate. Remember, this is the quoted rate. So for each year, the earnings you invest in US is 10%. So for 5 years, your return will be, if you invest $1 US, so 5 years, your future value is 1 plus 10% to the power of 5. And minus $1 divided by $1. This $1 is the initial investment. So what you will do, you will find your return equals to 1 plus 10% to the power of 5 minus 1. And the British 5-year interest rate, this is the annualized one, is 13%. So which means the return of this British bank account will be, if you invest $1 British pound in bank times 1 plus 13% to the power of 5 minus the initial investment divided by the initial investment. So the return will be 1 plus 13% to the power of 5 minus 1. So we found that over the 5 years, the US return, if you invested $1 in US, over 5 years, your total return is 61%. And if over the 5-year period, if you invest 1 British pound in UK market, your total interest rate or return is 84%. Then we can apply it to the, then we can apply interest rate parity. So the premium or discount, for the premium or discount equals to 1 plus the US interest rate. This is the interest rate over 5 years, because we needed to do the 5-year forecasting. So it's 61%. Divided by 1 plus the interest rate over of UK over 5 years is 84%, and minus 1. So we will find the percentage change of British pound over the next 5 years together will be negative 12.5%, which means because the UK has a relatively higher interest rate, British pound will depreciate by 12.5% over the 5-year period. So this is a summary. Those are basically 3 techniques, and here is a summary of those all 3 techniques. The first is called the technical forecasting. Basically use past, just to find the patterns in historical data and apply it to predict the future's movement. And the second one is a fundamental forecasting. Basically, we can apply purchasing power parity or interest rate Fisher's effect, international Fisher's effect. Basically, we explore the underlying relation between economic variables and future movements, and then we can do the prediction. Market-based one, usually we use spot rate or forward rate to do the as a forecasting value. For the forward rate, we can apply interest rate parity theory. Okay, that's chapter 9, class 1. Thank you for watching, and I will use another 2 videos to talk about chapter 9, class 2, and then that's our all videos. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and safe. Bye.